Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider. So today I'm here with Betty. She's a standardbred mare. And what we're trying to do is she was a kind of speed wrecker. She can go 28 miles per hour. Impressive, right? But she doesn't gait slow. And a lot of times the speed wreckers just, trail walk and then they go super fast. So sometimes they don't have those in between gaits, so you got to know that going in. If you don't see them in a video gaiting slow, they might not know how to gait slow. A lot of these horses are trotty, and when they go slower, they can be pacey. Weird, huh? So start her this way. They can be pacey, so you got to figure out what you got to do to help them, and then you got to practice it. If you get a horse off the track, standardbred, remember to go a lot to the right because they go a lot to the left and only a little bit to the right, so they're never as good to the right, and you got to work on it. So what have I been doing with Betty? I didn't videotape it because you see it with all the other horses I work with. Just look up arena routine and you'll see what I do. Come on, Betty, we're going to try and do a little flat walk and walk faster. I worked on all the basics, the leg yielding, which she kind of knew, but it was not very good. And she tends to hold her butt into the right, so her hindquarter she puts into the right. So I was teaching her to be more straight. And I was also teaching her how to go sideways off my leg with the leg yield and the shoulder in, which is much better now. So she has a concept, but you'll see many times she kind of pins her ears, and I'm hitting her with my spur because she's leaning to the right, and I'm like, nope, you can't do that anymore. You got to move out. And the weird thing is with some of these, like she's dull, but then she's very fast, and that can be confusing for some of you. So hard part when you get horses like this, with my horses, I start slow, and then I slowly speed them up. And so we get all different gaits, and then the horse knows what to do. But with these other ones, when they go slow and then super fast, they don't know what to do when you're in between. And so she hasn't been here long, but I've been playing around with her. And yesterday, when I kind of framed her up, she actually got pacey. So I thought, well, I should show you everything and see what we get with her, okay? Now, she's got a big stride, so it's not like I can shorten her stride a lot. I can shorten it some. See her get dull? And every time I click, she thinks she's off to the races. Cluck. She thinks she's off to the races. So I just want her to do a nice forward walk. I'd like her to do it in a more relaxed frame or whatever gets me that 4-beat footfall. So this is pretty good for a flat walk, except she's cutting into the right. So if you have a standardbred or it's cutting into the right, lots of circles. They don't make lots of circles, right? They just go around the racetrack. So lots of circles, keeping the same speed, making sure they're moving off your legs. So you're going to see her go up and down. Speed, you're going to see her put her head up and down because we're just starting. It's not like she's finished. So we're trying to show her what to do and then give her time to do it. This is the bit they ride her in. It's Brenda Imus, which helps to bring the head down. So I got to be careful not to put too much pressure on it that we bring it down too much. So you're going to see her, do these little steps that aren't correct, and that's because she's not finished. She's learning, and she, by golly, probably hasn't been ridden in an arena very much. I'm sure they've been just riding around trail because that's what most people do. Okay? So we're trying to get this a little faster, but see how she keeps changing, and every time she changes, I just hold until she slows it back down and goes back into the previous gait I was trying to do. That's the only way she's going to know is I have to correct her. But if every time she speeds up and does the wrong thing and I just let her go, how would she know that's wrong? How would she know that's not what I want? But that's what a lot of you do. You just flop the reins, the horse does it 20 steps, and then finally you stop and you're like, oh, this is so annoying. She's not gaiting well. And you just rewarded the horse for not gaiting well, because that's when you stop, when they were doing the wrong thing and you let them do it a bunch, so they don't know. Now she's ignoring my right leg, so I'm getting active with it. And when I get active with it and I make her go forward, I have to not worry about gait to start. First, you got to make them go. It's like the dull horse. You got to make them go first before you can worry about that gait. You got a tripping horse, you got to worry about the tripping first before the gait, okay? Certain things you got to focus on first. Now there she's pretty good. Oh, her whoa wasn't that good, So every time I whoa with her, I'm going to ask her to back up. Her back up's getting much better, but I'd like it so she's not so tense. So I'm going to hold pressure till her brings her head down. And she's a mare. Mares can get a little bit more anxious. They're very highly focused. Yes, they don't want to do the wrong thing. They try really hard, and if you don't reward them when they're doing the right thing, they get pissed off, right? Don't you? And then a lot of times you show them, the next day they'll have it, because mares are smart, but that's why they're difficult, because they outsmart people all the time. Okay, good girl. So that's much better standing than she did the other day. She was very anxious to keep moving. So she's starting to get what I'm asking her to do. Okay, so this is pretty good for a flat walk. You should be moving back and forth. I'd like her to be bending a little bit more, but we can't get perfection in the beginning. And I'm just trying to keep her head kind of level with the top of my saddle. And that's what I'm going to try to get her to gait, is I'm going to try and let her go a little bit more and see if she gets more trotty versus pacey. So sometimes when you get them and you're working things out, you got to play around a little bit. And you're like, today I'm going to ride it with its head up, see what it does. Tomorrow I'll ride it with its head down and see what it does. And then when they're like this, where she naturally just trots when she's out there but paces when she's under saddle, you got to find the in-between. See, she's ignoring me right there, and you might have heard her just groan because I hit her with my spur again. She's just got to keep the same speed and not lean in on my leg. Okay? So I'm trying to be very light with my hands, trying to let her put her head down as long as she keeps the same speed. And you'll see I'm not having that much arch in her neck because that made her pacey yesterday. Good girl. But she's still leaning into the right. Her hindquarter is still going into the right. And that's not surprising when it's a horse that's been ridden to the left most of, their career. Well, actually, I don't know how long her career was. Okay, so now let's go the other way. Oh, good girl. So with her, because she's a little anxious and she wants to do things right, but she can have a little attitude, like most mares can. Good girl. I don't want to rush anything. If I rush, that's going to make her more anxious. So ones like this can be tricky. They're dull, but they're sensitive. They're slow, but they're forward. You're like, what? Yeah, they can do that. So this is the frame I'd like her to go on. This would be great. She's nice and relaxed. But we know a lot of these trotty ones, as you go faster, they pick their knees up higher, so that separates their legs more. And so they can get smoother as you're going faster. But you got to be able to get it as they're going slow, too. So the other thing, if you didn't notice, I went to the right first. I'm always going to go to the right first with her because we have to make up a lot of years getting that right side better. And the more balanced she is, the straighter she can go. And the more she understands my communication, the more I can help her to gait. But a lot of horses come in and they don't know any arena work, and I'm supposed to get them to gait well in 1 month and send them back. And that's just not how it works. They got to have a basic foundation or I can't even communicate with them. Okay? Can people get it? Sure, they can use tricks and stuff, but your horse isn't going to be trained well if you do that. So it's best to get the basics. Go in, put a month on the horse. Don't get it to gait. Just get the basics. Then you work on the gait, save more money, then send it back in again, and the trainer will be able to do a lot more. So here she's doing quite good. Now you see she doesn't lean into the left. She's quite good here. This is what I want, so I'm going to stop her. Oh, good girl. And I'm going to give her another break. So Standardbreds are great horses. You don't see a ton of people that have them. They're cheap. They got that registration number on their side, so sometimes people don't like that. But they've seen a lot of things. They're usually pretty brave. Not all of them. Depends if they've been at the track and how well they did there. But a lot of them can be very brave. They've seen a lot of things, so they're used to those things. Some of them can be a little bit stubborn. Okay? That can happen with some of the brave ones. They're like, don't tell me what to do. I know what to do. So now we're going to start again. And so they can be a little stubborn, so you want to get through to them. They can give you a little attitude. But they're usually not very spooky. So with anything, there's good and bad about them. So now I'm putting leg on her, and she's ignoring me. Now, I didn't carry a stick with her in the beginning, but I'm going to tomorrow, and I'm going to keep it in my right hand because that's where she tends to drift over to her. So you might have seen her swishing her tail and stuff, and then she just gave a little groan like, "You're annoying, Gaye." And I'm like, "You better go because I'm not stopping with my leg until you actually go." And now my leg is light again, so you keep adding more pressure till they respond, okay? Don't let them ignore you. And then they'll become more and more sensitive to a lighter leg. You put light leg on. If they don't listen, you increase it until you get the answer you want, and then you lighten your leg back up. You don't keep that hard pressure. It's the same with your hands. You might have to hold pretty hard to get their head down or get them to do something, but then you lighten right back up when they do the right thing, okay? It's all about give and take, and if you just take and take and take on horses, they will not like it, and things will happen. But if you take and give, they're like, "Okay, yeah, that was annoying, but now I understand what you want. I can do that for you." So this is pretty good for a flat walk. So a lot of this would help, right? But you'll see at times she kind of goes, and it feels like she's going to go more towards the trotty side versus the pacey side. So what I'm going to try and do is, again, some of them, that was really good. We'll get real lateral, and they might get a kind of step pacey, but if it's smooth, that's pretty good. So it's okay to go for the step pace. You know, some horses are so lateral, that's the best you're going to get. So you try to help them, you try to make sure their frame's correct, that you're not hurting their body parts or anything. And then, but if you have a horse that's pacing, step pace is much better. And then from there, you try to get better from that if you can and get a little bit more leg separation. But if they're as smooth as glass, what else are you trying to get? Right? So we don't like the step pace when it's got a bounce in it or we're going side to side. But if you have a little step pace and it's very smooth, then that's okay. So there she's quite good. So I think this might be the answer, is keeping her more in this frame. But we'll see as we go. But see, she's getting the idea. She's like, "I guess Gaye wants me to go faster like this." Good girl. So I like to give them lots of scratches when they do the right thing. It makes a huge difference. You can give them treats if you want, but you don't have to. Just a good scratch does wonders for them trying for you. Remember, they don't have fingers. So scratch their neck, scratch in their groove of their shoulder blade, which is right here. And the other thing, you can scratch right here. Ooh, she's like, "Yeah, I like that." So that's a good thing. All right, so let's do another turn on the forehand because she needed help moving off my leg. This is to the right, so we're bad way. And the first day, this was not good. She understood, but it was not good. That was a good one, Betty. Good girl. Okay. Now, usually if they're trotty, if you go straight, that's easier on you. But if Marissa's going over there, so I'm going to turn. So usually if they're trotty, you make less circles and don't do pulls. But we have one that's trotty, yet goes pacey. So I got to see what she does. So I got my poles ready, and I got my circle that I'm going to make. And we're just going to see how it goes. Because when I went straight out there yesterday, well, she didn't gait so well. And I did in the arena, and I'll put a little clip, and then I did it out there. It wasn't bad. It was smoother than it was the first day, but it wasn't as good as I would like it to be. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is just kind of keep speeding her up, and then we'll see what happens. Okay? So this is pretty good. So remember, when she's doing good, I'm just going to leave her alone. And each gaited horse is different. Now, if it feels a little bouncy, go over a pole, see what happens. So that did smooth her out. So if I went over a pole and she was trotty, it would have just made her trottier, which would have made her bouncier. So if you don't know if it's a trot or a pace, that's what you do. Just go over a pole, see what happens. Right there, she's good. So the poles are helping her get smooth because she is getting a little pacey and step pacey. Now she did a little kind of weird thing with her hind quarter. girl. So she's cutting in. So that's one of our problems right now. Is she's cutting in. If I could get her to bend more to the right, I might be able to get her to gait better without the pulls. But so let's ask her to bend, but she might speed up as I do this and get mad and get bunched up. So I'm going to push her over. So she's not responding, she's leaning in instead of moving away. Right there, she's quite smooth. Oh, so that was pretty decent. Much better than yesterday. See her pull on me and I didn't let go? Don't let go. Teach them to back off of the bit, not lean on it. So I'm going to give her a little treat. That was pretty good, girl. So, now, I'm going to tell you some other things because sometimes people don't know. So, if I get 30 days with her and I fix it, she goes home and they have different riders on her. She's just going to go back to what she was doing before. 30 days is not a lot in their lifetime, so everybody's either got to ride her right, or if they ride her wrong, it might just go away. If the owner rides her correctly, they might be able to gait her smooth. So we'll see, but the horses need conditioning, so if you don't show them what to do and then condition them in it, they usually won't do it well. And it depends on your balance. Are you bending them? Are you steering them correctly? How much pressure do you have? How much leg pressure, rein pressure, etc.? How much are you using your seat bones? All of that adds into how the horse goes. So we know a lot of people who are starting out don't ride so well because they don't know their cues, maybe haven't taken lessons, so they really don't know how to use their hands and legs and seat. So I clocked because I asked her to move, and she's like, oh, I'm not moving. So I'm going to slowly speed back up again. Good girl. So this is nice. I'm going towards a pole because I feel like she's going to get pacey. Now, this isn't so good. Now, these are counter poles, but what the heck? Oh, so that was pretty smooth, so I'm going to stop again. Because in the beginning, it's not how many steps am I getting. It's let's get the point across to her that this is what I want. So when she does what I want, I'm going to stop and reward with rest. When she doesn't, when she's pacing or if she was trotting or something, I might slow her down, but I'm not going to stop and give her rest. So rest makes a huge difference in the horse understanding what you want them to do. So in the beginning, when you're teaching, you rest a lot. Then it's less and less over time, and then also they get better conditioned so they can hold it for longer periods of time. Okay? So now we're going to go again. So I put my leg on her, then I shorten my reins up, and then I'm going to ask her to go. Now, as I ask her to go, I got to pull right here. Am I going to use it? No, I missed that one. Now, she feels tense and a little bouncy. Now, I need a little bend, but see her bunch up? She's curling up, and she's fighting against me instead of giving. So she's getting bouncier because she's tensing up more instead of tensing up less. So what normally works with many of the horses is not working with her. So see me let her go, and then she got better. So it's not like I want her head straight up in the air, but when she gets tense, even though her head's down, she gets worse. So here she's speeding up and cutting in. So I'm half halting, pushing her out, and I'm going to try and let her go. Okay. Oh, so better. And she put her head down when we stopped, and not so much attitude. So she's getting it. Again, Mare is the difficult part, is getting through their brain, getting them to listen to you, because they're like, I'm smarter than you, I don't have to do that. Rewarding their try, and then the next day you come out and ride them, and you're like, wow, how cool is that? I think they thought about it all night. I think she must have been gaiting around her stall trying to figure this out. Like, what's that lady want? So she leaves me alone. So they're quick learners, and they'll quickly learn things right, or they'll quickly learn things wrong if you do it wrong, and they'll quickly get in a fight with you if you don't treat them correctly. They're just like women. So that was pretty good. So let's try it one more time. So I'm using one leg and then the other to kind of get her into the flat walk, and then I close both legs and ask her to go. Now she's pretty good, but I'm signed up for the pole because I was aimed right at it. Now this isn't bad. Now I'm stepping a little bit in my stirrups to try to help her. I'm pushing on one foot, ball of my foot, and then the other. Now see me bouncing, so that's a little step pacey. So I'm going to bend her, try to push her over. That's what I would normally do. See her bunch up. So I'm pushing her over, getting the response. Now I'm going to let her go. So it's getting a little better. Not perfect, but that's okay. And we got the pole, so the pole will help us. There, she's quite good. Oh, so we stop her, so she gets a break, and then we're going to go the other way. Way. So horses like this can be tricky, but if you're like, they told me to get the horse's head down, I got it down, and he just paces more. He's got it down, but he's not relaxed. Remember, they need relaxation in the neck and the spine if they're getting pacey, because with pacey, they tense up those areas and they swing. So most of the horses do it when their head's up, but some of them can do it with their head down. That's the trick. So the more you frame them up, and do what you saw me doing with her when I'm trying to push her over, the worse she gets. And your horse might be getting worse. So if you have one like that, try to, push them over, ask them what you were going to do, then release on the reins, and then have poles around. So if they're not getting the message, you use those poles to go over. And some of these standardbreds can be quite smooth, just doing a little step pace on a looser rein. If you just leave them alone, they figure it out. But we'll see. All right. So now we're going to go this direction. Now this is her better direction, but we'll see if she gaits better or not. So we're going to add more leg. Right here she's fine. So this is her flat walk because you see me moving back and forth. So if you see someone moving forward and back in the saddle, it's either a flat walk or a running walk. If that horse's head is going up and down. If the horse's head is going up and down, you see that person bouncing up and down. And then they're doing a foxtrot, okay? But she's not foxtrotting at all. So now I'm going to add more leg and ask her to go. Oh, that's quite nice. So, I wanted to go more. I was like, that was kind of pretty good for you compared to yesterday. That was great. Great. She's like, yeah, give me some more scratching. So I wanted to keep going, but I wanted her to get the message like, yeah, you're so smart. That's the right thing already. Now, I got to get it slow. You see I'm not going very fast, okay? Because I know she can go super fast. So what I want to do is get it slow, get the footfall, and then condition her and slowly get faster and faster over time. So then it's just her flat walk, it's a walk, flat walk. She might be able to do a running walk and then saddle gait and into her rack. Just smooth, 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 smooth. Versus, I'm walking, I speed them up, they're pacing and trotting. I got to do all these weirdo things with my hands and legs, kicking them, head up and head down. And then you finally get the gait after you're bouncing all around. We just want smooth. And that's why if you put a foundation on them, you can communicate with them easier. The horse understands what you want to do. You can control those body parts. And moving the horse sideways when they're pacey makes a big difference in you getting the correct gait. So now let's try it again. So I'm going to add my leg. Now she thinks we're going to turn. That's okay. Now she went back to dull mode instead of forward. So I'm pushing a little harder with my legs. Push as hard as you need to get the response you want. Then lighten it back up. You don't want to keep pushing that hard the entire time, which people do, and then you make your horse duller and duller. Light leg, then harder and harder so they understand, and then back to light leg. And if they're not responding, you need to carry a stick or use spurs so they don't learn to ignore you. Good girl. This is quite nice. Now don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. It's still a little bumpy. Let's go over the pole. But she's not getting bunched up. That's pretty good. Oh, good girl. So now we're going to give her another break. So the nice thing is she isn't as anxious today. She's not trying to walk off the whole time, which she was the other day. She was very anxious and she was kind of stuck on go. She's getting quieter, so she is getting a little bit more dull. But she's being very good and she's thinking more today versus reacting. And that's what she was doing the other 2 days, was reacting more to the stuff. And that's what happens when people run them too much and, it's all about speed. Teach them how to relax. These horses don't want to be stressed out the whole time. It's not good for their bodies. It's not good for their stomach. It gives them ulcers. They'll do what we want. They'll go fast. They'll go slow if you teach them correctly and calmly. Okay? All right. So one leg, then the other for a flat walk. See, that was good. So she walked off faster that time. Very good, Betty. Good girl. Now we're going to add a little bit more speed, and I'm just ready to adjust her depending what she's doing. So right there's pretty good. So a little bumpy, so I'm going to try to bend her a little bit, see if she can do it without bunching up. Good girl. So she did a little bit, and then I let go because I don't expect it to be perfect. So I'm trying now to use my shoulder in and leg yield to get her to gait versus the poles. Right there. Whoa, that was pretty good. So what I'm looking for is smoother steps each time. I'm not expecting that. I'm not going to have any bumpiness in her gait yet. She hasn't been here long enough to know. And she's a very quick learner. I immediately started teaching her the arena stuff. She knew some of it, but I was like, you got to do it better because I can't communicate if you can't do it better. So she practiced every night while I was sleeping. Didn't you? But she's a very sweet mare. She's becoming personable with me. She ate some of my corn chips the other day. And she can be a little demanding like some mares are, so she likes to paw at feeding time. But she's learning that if she paws, her food sits out in front of her stall and she doesn't get any until she just stands there for a while being relaxed. And like I was telling the owner, when the horses are home, you can control how much they paw because it's all, no, not yet. It's all you. But when they go to a boarding stable, you can't control it because no matter what those guys are going to feed, they want to get out of there. So your horse is pawing, they're like, who cares? Just feed it. So some things you can fix and some you can't. Now this is pretty good. Well, now this is pretty good. Well, now, Betty. Now see, you were on the video the whole time? Good girl. I didn't do much. Betty got better. I'm getting off. Betty's getting the whole thing of cookies in my pocket. She's like, what? She's like, bonus. Right? You won. So she's being very calm, very relaxed. She did what I wanted. She figured that out. Now her head was just a little bit higher, and she did a really nice gait. So I'm quitting because I got to get the point through that she knows what I'm asking her. And she's like, if that's all I got to do, I'm going to do that from get-go, right from the beginning. And that's what I want her to do. But again, each time I'm going to ask her for a little bit more and a little bit more. But you got to reward the try, and you got to be able to have the feel. If I didn't have the feel, I wouldn't know the difference between what those gaits were and when I should have rewarded her and when I should have stopped. So that part you have to feel. When you're trying to get these gaits, remember the flat walk and the running walk is this motion. Okay? Your saddle gait usually is smooth or a little bit more of a wiggle. Same with the rack, okay? So, if you're kind of going and you're like it's smooth, but you kind of feel this, that's usually your step pace. They're going more sideways, but it's smooth, and it's got a little bump in it. I see a lot of show people doing that, okay? But we won't say anything. So some of the show people are doing great, but some of them are doing step pace and winning. So you'll feel that little bump. So if you're trying to get the saddle gait, it should feel smooth, or you should feel a little wiggle, like you're twerking, like they say. The other thing, if you don't have anybody that you can learn from or what the feel is, sit on your washing machine, stick something a little heavy in there, and so remember, she learned the other day to get out of my space. Don't forget that part, Betty. Oh, you look all cockeyed. It's embarrassing. So you sit on the washing machine with something in there, and you'll feel the washing machine go side to side, but your butt will jiggle on that washing machine. That's more saddle gait. And each horse is different with their saddle gait. Some are smoother than others, some are rougher. Usually if they're hiking their knees up, sometimes I can make it a little bit rougher. If they're real trotty, sometimes that makes it a little rougher. Now they can smooth it out and get better over time, so don't give up. They all get smoother, but you got to practice. If you don't practice their gaits, they can't get conditioned in them and they can't get smoother in them, okay? So that's Betty. I hope you enjoyed another Standardbred, because I know there's not a lot around, but I know some of you have them out there, and if you have questions or problems, remember you can take an online lesson with me and I can tell you what to do, or just watch some of the other videos, and happy to help, because of course we don't want them to have a racetrack career and no career after that. They make great horses, and again, since many of them can trot, they also can do hunter, jumper, dressage, and all sorts of stuff. They look like warm bloods, but they're calm. They jump usually pretty well, and they got lots of power, so they make really good horses for many, many things. All right, hope that helps.